Welcome to Type C Tech Reviews. Today we're going to be doing a review of the Pixio PX248 Pro. If at any point during the video you want to check out this exact same monitor, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But let's jump into it. Right off the bat, this is a 23.8-inch gaming monitor with a resolution of 1920 by 1080p. This brings the PPI, or pixels per inch, essentially how crisp and clear this image is actually going to appear to your eye. It is the pixel density. This brings it to between 92 and 93. I think it's actually like 92.53, something like that. So all the clarity of the resolution is going to be less than a 27-inch 1440p gaming monitor. Is that the benefit here is that you'll be able to run most games at the full frame rate, even with a less powerful, less expensive rig. If you do have a less powerful gaming monitor, but you still wanna run high frames, it's gonna be easy to do it on this. That's a big benefit. Also with the Xbox Series X and PS5, it will be easier to hit higher frame rates on those consoles at only 1080p. Now, as for the panel type, this is an IPS panel, so the viewing angles are better, and especially the colors here are gonna be way better when comparing this to a VA or a TN, but we're not even gonna compare those. Now, natively, this hits 165 Hertz and has FreeSync Premium. I also do believe that it has FreeSync Premium Pro or some variation of that, because this is actually able to have variable refresh rate on when HDR is on, which is typically FreeSync Premium Pro. That is highly impressive. But one of the things that this doesn't have is variable refresh rate through HDMI. We don't see HDMI 2.1 here. So for consoles, you do not have variable refresh rate, but for the price, we don't really expect that at all. But with that, let's talk ports. This has two HDMI 2.0s, one DisplayPort 1.4, and then a 3.5mm audio out. All the ports you need, no extras here. We expect that for the price point. And honestly, I'm just gonna spoil the video right now. It's a squeal of a deal. This thing is unbelievably good. There's never been a better time in the industry to buy a first monitor or a budget gaming monitor. This is absolutely insane for the price. All right, brightness here is rated for 300 nits. After testing, this came closer to around 280 nits of brightness, so not quite 300 nits. Now, I personally would prefer something like this to hit about 320 to 330 nits. That would be like the ideal range. However, I can cut it some slack as, well, it brings a lot to the table, and again, that price point. In a dim room or at night, there's no problems at all. This thing looks great. It's vibrant. It's not as vibrant as it could be. However, that's going to bring us into the next section. This has a matte finish. Let's see if I can get a reflection. You can see a reflection right there. See that reflection? And you can see it is a total matte finish. Now, matte finishes do degrade picture quality, but basically every gaming monitor out there has a matte finish. This isn't an especially bad one. This isn't an especially thin one. It's just right there in the middle. If you're doing gameplay, you're never going to notice that dirty screen effect from the matte finish. If you're on a static white image and you're sitting fairly close, then you can see it. Now, this dirty screen effect is more prominent on smaller monitors, like a 24-inch, because you're sitting closer to the display. The farther away you sit from a matte finish, the less noticeable a dirty screen effect gets. Now again, if you're watching movies or if you're playing games, it's not going to be noticeable. However, I have been wanting to do a tutorial on how to remove these matte finishes on the channel. It's a little bit of a DIY project to do that, but I have been wanting to do it, and I thought this might be the best way to do it. Once removing a matte finish, you're gonna increase the clarity of the screen. The overall vibrancy of the colors is going to be increased. The beauty of the panel is gonna be increased, and even the brightness will get slightly increased. So that would be really fun to see. Go through this, test it afterwards, as well as showing you guys how to remove that if you did want to do it, as it's not too expensive where you might not want to try it. So let me know below if you do want me to do a tutorial with how to remove a matte finish, and should I use this one? Now let's talk colors. They are incredibly good here, like shockingly good. This covers a whopping 98.8% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, which is shocking at this price point. For comparison, my previous most recommended 24-inch budget gaming monitor only had the sRGB color gamut. It didn't even go into the DCI-P3 color gamut. And then this one is it just brings it hard. That's amazing. Now this means in HDR, games have more vibrant colors and look great. However, the overall screen brightness does decrease in HDR. So if you're in HDR, while it is tuned very, very well, it is exclusively something I would use at night or in a very dark room. The color accuracy out of the box was also very surprising when the setting for the color temperature was in the user setting, as all the other settings seem to be fairly inaccurate. I actually used this for photo and video editing, and besides the obvious smaller screen size and 1080p resolution, this did actually very, very well, and it impressed me. While it's not by a long shot the ideal setup, it does give the availability for smaller creators that are just getting started to edit off of something like this. Again, not ideal, but you have that color gamut there where you can legitimately do thumbnail editing and have good accuracy, whether you care about your accuracy in your thumbnails or not. That's another story, but legitimately impressive. Now, contrast ratio here is typical for IPS panels at 1,000 to 1. But a big question is, Pixio's quality control with backlight bleed has been really their only Achilles heel. I mean, Pixio has been bringing in many budget segments, and really the only constant there is their quality control with the backlight bleed needs to get better. However, I do want to cut them some slack. They're a new company. They're bringing it in price categories and performance. They've been a great company and I definitely want to support them. However, I do have to give my honest review. So how's the backlight bleed? There was backlight bleed in every single corner. Now, I do want to say, as you can see on the image here, on the B-roll, it's not that bad. And in person, it might come off a little bit more as I do enhance the ISO to actually show you the backlight bleed, but it's not that bad in person. So with this one specifically, if you got this one, I probably wouldn't recommend sending it back unless it really bothers you. It wasn't that bad where it affected really usability at all. So while this one does have backlight bleed, it's very minimal, not in terms of where it's coming from, but in terms of how much it's bleeding through, if that makes any sense. Now let's talk response time and ghosting. Response times here are great. Ghosting is very impressive. In the off overdrive mode, there is extremely minimal ghosting, even with very, very fast whips. Quite good. Now the reason I say in the off setting is because the other three low, middle, and high settings actually have overshoot, and I wouldn't recommend those modes pretty much at all. Now again, not a problem because the off mode is the best setting, basically the response time settings there. However, it is, kind of funny that all of the other ones have overshoot. Not really sure what their tuning team was doing there, but the off setting is good. So that's really the only mode you're gonna need it in. As far as ghosting, great for fast-paced gaming, COD, Battlefield, all of it. Now, the menu system and controls are a mixed bag here. The menu system itself is fairly easy to use and understand and simple to find things. However, the controls for the menu system, you use a joystick on the rear right of the monitor, which isn't my favorite placement. However, the controls for the joystick are not intuitive for selection. By that, I mean the right movement of the joystick should be the selection. And instead of that, clicking is what you use for selecting, so clicking in. However, to deselect something, it's then a left movement. If this doesn't make any sense to you, it's that, well, you're in a menu system. To select, you would push over. Then to deselect it, you push to the left. Well, to deselect it is push to the left, but to select something, it's to click in, which makes no sense at all. Overall, not a deal breaker, and over time you will probably get used to it, but it's slower and it's not intuitive out of the box. So small thing that could be pretty easily fixed, but not a deal breaker at all. Vesa compatibility here is great, having 100mm by 100mm Vesa mounts, and I mean, you can see I'll take it off right now. It would be pretty easy to mount. It's not very heavy at all. I mean, look at, pretty easy. Now let's talk internal speakers. This actually does have internal speakers. They are dual 2-watt, which is very cool and honestly surprising. Again, it's like you wouldn't think they're gonna add extras in something of this price point when they already have given you so much. But yeah, they're not super loud, but they actually sound pretty clear. There's no rattling. Still muffled, still awful speakers. All of those internal speakers are, except maybe like BenQs, but definitely a very convenient thing to have, and they don't absolutely suck when comparing them to absolutely trash monitor speakers, so there's that. Now, standard build quality here is again another section where I was impressed. Obviously, Pixio being, well, fairly a small company compared to like LG or Dell, you can see here, their stand is absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna quickly unplug this, and this stand, not only does it look pretty dang clean. Look at that. It looks nice and clean, but you have height adjustability, a good amount too. You have tilt, okay? Look at that, tilt. All the movements feel really good. You have swivel, and that feels really good, really smooth. Then you even have full rotation, and it's snapping in. It'll like snaps in. So freaking nice. Look at this. It snaps back right to straight. Perfect. And then it'll go the other way too. And look, see how it's harder to push? And then it snaps into place. This is a fantastic system to use. And honestly, this is actually better, I feel like, in the feeling of the actual movements than like Dell or Alienware even, or LG. I mean, it's very impressive how well and refined this is. Typically, Pixio's panels were very good, but they needed some refinement in their branding and the way that their stands feel. I mean, we got metal legs down here, if you can see that. Those are all metal. it's just impressive. I was very impressed with the stand overall. So great build quality. Also, good cable management back there. You got this little cable management hole. Now, for the price and value section, you probably already know what I'm gonna say. The price is $169.99. That's a freaking steal for this. This offers wide color gamut if you want to use that in HDR or even do some photo or video editing. This has great gaming performance with very low ghosting, solid stand and build quality, and has the ability to have a variable refresh rate on with HDR. It honestly shocks me how much they put into this monitor and still was able to keep that price down. It's impressive. Do I recommend it? Absolutely, yeah. So overall, if you're in the market for a 24-inch gaming monitor, this takes the place for my most recommended 24-inch budget gaming monitor as the best one to buy due to the crazy wide color gamut, great ghosting and gamer performance, HDR, and great build quality. Again, if you want to check it out, there's Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. This is the best entry-level gaming monitor. Or if you want to get two of these and flip them this way on either side of your desk, look real gamery, that is awesome. All right, this was Type C Tech Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next video.